Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where we're talking about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Good Girls. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Let's start off with Annie's side of things, who I think is kind of fascinating. With the fact of the matter is that she basically hooks up with Chris/Kevin, at her job, and then they're like, yeah, and I love that whole line of like, you want to go again? And she's like, you can do that? He's like, yeah, I'm like a girl. And she's like, let's just go out on top. And he's like, well, next time could we do it at your place? Because he's like, the tiles and everything. He's like, I kind of got a back thing and everything. She's like, well, I've got a son, so we can't be doing it at my place. Fine, we'll do it at yours. He's like, we already did it. And she's like, your car? You're living in your car. Are you homeless? And he's like, I'm experiencing homelessness. And then eventually it's just almost every time she's about to walk, one more thing. Can I wash here? It's like, there's no shower here. But you have a sink. And it's just like, and I think in that moment, you could see it in Annie's face. It's like, she felt like I've hit rock bottom. Because she had told him straight up, it's like, yo, Kevin, is that the other name? Because his name is Kevin, but I think the other thing was Chris, wasn't it? Whatever the case may be, she talks about the fact is that she's just using him as kind of a booty call. But it's just like, this is the most like low of the, like she's had her complicated booty calls, but this just makes her, I think it makes her go like, oh, I've definitely hit rock bottom. All in her attempt to get over Josh, which is interesting because she's getting over Josh by doing the exact same thing he kind of called her out for, from a psychological standpoint. So that also brings up the point that she's not going to go back to Josh. But maybe with the way things kind of progress in the episode, because obviously, Ben comes home and is super upset because it's like, your boyfriend's outside. It's like, what? In his car. It's like, no, that's not my boyfriend. And it's just kind of like, for Ben, it's kind of like, I thought you were over this, but now you're back to your issues again. So it's like, your boyfriend asked me to bring him tissue from outside. I even later on, because Ben's like, yeah, Jordan needed to be picked up, called an Uber out in the front of the lawn, and Chris/Kevin ends up taking her home in his living room, that being the car and everything. And I was like, oh, dude. So, but I think that whole situation feeling low like that, I think that's probably going to make, despite the awkwardness between her and Josh, because that's why she kind of like snapped at Josh last time, was kind of super snarky and sarcastic, was just because she felt awkward about it, because like she put herself out there, kind of came on to him and then kind of got rejected, and she kind of feels bad about it. But also the thing about him kind of like talking about the fact is that she does her whole thing of like not getting in intimate relationships, that basically she kind of shields herself and kind of like basically bottles away her emotions and trying not to get close to people, and just when things kind of seem like they might be, then at first she kind of pushes away, so that whole thing. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens on that front. Another side of things is everything with Ruby, with the whole situation with her and Stan. Now that's a complicated situation, because like their daughter starts getting all friendly with Stan, and it's like, and they're up there laughing and stuff like that, and you see the look on Ruby's face like, what the hell are you laughing about? Are you forgetting the situation I caught you in last episode? I think you're forgetting the fact is you in trouble, honey. But I forgot what she had called her, but she was basically like game recognized game criminal, essentially. She said something specifically, but I can't remember what it was, and even her daughter, which is like, it's almost like this adorableness to it, because her daughter is super adorable, but the fact is that she's like, she knows that she's screwed up, because the way she's looking at her mom, like, I'm so innocent, but I know I messed up big time. Going from like, playing with her dad to being like, oh crap, mom's here, but at least, seems like she, but it's like, obviously Ruby hasn't told Stan anything, but obviously it pisses Ruby off, because it's like, you're up here having fun and everything. And it's like, Stan, come here. Do you know what your daughter did? Oh, actually, no. Wait, what? You do? And he's like, yeah, it's fine. It's like, wait, she's like, and it's okay, and you're cool with it? He's like, no. Well, she's like, well, you're not cool with it. But it turns out it's because she felt bad about it. She felt so bad and so guilty about it that she told Stan. And for him, that kind of puts her in a better light than Ruby. Because for him, it's like, oh, Ruby, you sleep like a queen, like despite everything that you're doing. At least our daughter feels guilty, showing me that basically she still has a conscience. It's kind of, and that Ruby kind of takes that hard too, because it's like, oh, so you're basically saying what I do is who, because, and it's so effed up, because what did Stan say? We're good people who do bad things. And it's like, it's almost like you're judging her. It's like, let's not pretend like I think it's for him, he gets it a little twisted. Ruby's completely conflicted with everything that they do. It's never like it's an easy thing, but she does what she has to do. Why? Because her family needs her. And I mean, truth be told, it's the only one of these shows that seems like they really were interested in this from a criminal standpoint. We can do this is Beth. The fact of the matter is, Ruby and Annie's a little more okay. I think she could be obviously swayed really easily into doing the criminal stuff, but Ruby probably has like, she feels the most guilt. Granted, everyone feels guilty, but I think she feels the most guilty. I think Beth feels the least amount of guilt. Doesn't mean she doesn't feel any at all, but she feels the least amount amongst the three. At least that's my opinion. And it's actually sad because at the end of it, after everything that went down the rest of the episode, which we're definitely going to get to that, but the fact is her apologizing to Stan, because like she was kind of in the van and everything, because she was upset because it's like, for her it feels like, Stan's gonna leave me, and it's like, yeah, he's been by my side, yeah, he's okay, because that's why I kept being like, you act like you're so okay with the criminal stuff. You literally did a long list of criminal things to protect Ruby, so it's like, why are you so judgmental? But it's like, because in her mind, it's like, you accepted me as this criminal, that they're all there is to me, so you kind of giving up hope. And for her, it's like a marriages just don't end, they fade. So basically for her, it's like, eventually it's gonna get to the point that just almost any little thing I do is gonna upset you, just because you're still like the main thing being this whole criminal life that I'm associated with, but every little thing I do going forward could just be another tick at kind of knocking, chipping a little bit away at our marriage, because obviously like this life, I mean, Annie's situation is very complicated, but obviously, this life has kind of led to some slight good, some bad in everyone's relationships, to a certain extent, because if it wasn't for this, she wouldn't have met Noel, but even that was kind of like the whole Noah situation was a very, complicated thing within its own right, but nevertheless. So there's that. But it does seem like he's trying to comfort her by being like, no, just go to bed. You're thinking about this too much. I'm not going to leave you, that type of situation, but it's just like when push comes to shove, that's what Ruby's kind of worried about, whether or not he sticks to that, or, because she doesn't want to lose Stan because she loves him, it's like, along this same lines, there's the whole thing with Beth, because Beth at the very beginning caught on pretty quickly. Homegirls are under taking photos and stuff. He's like, oh, how does it work? She's like, oh, why? Yeah. He's like, no, I'm just curious. I'm like, you could have been a little sly with that, but I guess it's like, why we got to keep up the pretenses? But Beth is like, yo, we take these plates with you. It's like, why? Because anyone can use those printers, right? And so we only bring those pieces when we're going to work and print, because it clicks in their heads too. It's like, oh, right. Because if we don't, like, they could, once again, it's a comparison I literally made last episode, making a comparison to Breaking Bad. It's literally like the Gus and Walt situation right now, where like Gus wants to kill Walt so bad. In this case, Rio wants to kill Beth so bad. But the fact of the matter is, I hope that doesn't bother people. I'm not trying to compare and contrast shows, but it's just kind of an interesting comparison that it's a reference I can easily pull that is very befitting for this situation in many different regards, but we'll get to that soon enough. I was really surprised with that Dean situation. Well, for one, I thought that was kind of interesting, the whole like, oh yeah, like, for one, I skipped over it, but the sandwich situation, like, I mean, it makes sense in the long run. It's like, why didn't you get like 6 inches? But it's like, well, yeah, because at least the foot long, you get the chips and a drink. So it's like, yeah, it's more bang for your buck type of situation. But I love they cut the sandwich in half, and then Beth's like, oh, did you get me one? And he's like, yeah. And I love that she's literally cutting the food with her key. And it's like, you're cutting with your key? Ew. He's like, it's my gym key. Ew, gross. It's like, I don't use it that much. It's like, it still doesn't matter. You're still cutting a sandwich with the key. I love that Annie's probably amongst the trio, she's the most ghetto, and I love it. But the fact of the matter is, they're Beth and Dean's kids. I think in particular their daughters. I think it was more so their daughters. Fishes ended up dying, and so it's like, okay, so what do we do? Like, did you overfeed him? Dean's like, I don't know if I overfed him or didn't feed him enough. Was it the water? He's like, no, I checked it and everything. So, but then Dean finds one of the plates from the printer, and it's like, what's this for? It's like, you couldn't wait to get back to business and stuff like that. It's like, is this what you're up to? And she literally was like, don't, he'll kill me. And he was like, you don't kill what you love. And he breaks it. And I was like, I get it, Dean. You're upset because you want her to be done with this, but I was like, that's an asshole move. She literally told you not to do that because she will die. And it's like, you put her in a very unfortunate situation. In a grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter because, it's like, well, they try to, they had to, basically because of this, they had to go at a slower rate to print the money because they only had one of the plates. They couldn't do two. So she gives Home Dude wants like 100,000 himself so that he'll get Rio to kind of back off of her, not be too amped about getting it immediately. Then there's the whole Lucy situation because they go to Lucy asking her for help. There was actually that cute and adorable thing between her and her boyfriend because he's like, oh, do you need this? Oh, how are your cramps? Oh, I'm gonna get you some pain stuff for your cramps too. And it's just like, oh, they're super adorable and everything, but she's not gonna do what they want again. And they're like, oh, funny enough, it's another, what was it, gambler's thing again. But it's like, no, she found the shredded pieces, so she knows exactly that you're using her from, to counterfeit money. And so that turns into a whole thing. Like, okay, so what do we do? Well, we need her help. So basically, I was wondering how they were going to go. I was like, at first I was like, are you going to kidnap her boyfriend or something? It's like, no, they're going to kidnap her bird, Ajun. And so that ended up being a crazy turn of events, even to the point that Annie ended up hiding the bird in her bathroom. So there's that whole situation. But that situation didn't have to go on for long because immediately Lucy's, talking, and lo and behold, who does she run into? None other than me. I was like, oh, this is interesting. I was like, oh, it's like, right, you're getting the main person involved in this. It's like, once you get her involved, you're not going to need Beth, Ruby, or Annie anymore. And when the time comes, it's like, all right, I even love them being like, well, which picture should we use? It's like, this one, that one doesn't seem so threatening. I even love, like, Beth is the one making the decision. They're like, no, I think, it just doesn't look threatening enough. It's like, maybe if you use scissors or something and you're just kind of looking at it like, it's almost like, like, this is a hostage type of situation. Like we should know, like, how this should go down. Lo and behold, walk in there to talk to Lucy, and lo and behold, Rio and the crew, and it's like, oh boy. Ooh, I was like, this is an interesting turn of events. And so obviously, like, Lucy's a little nervous. She's like, I'm missing. He's like, no, it's good. Take all the time in the world. But now you can tell, like, Rio, because she's like, don't get her involved in this. Sadly, Beth gets Lucy involved, and I think that's why she feels the most like, because she's the one that dragged Lucy into this. So there's that whole situation. Because, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, they've actually never gotten someone innocent dragged into their business, necessarily. I mean, well, to be fair, Stan, but, like, strangers, let's put it at that. Because even the Mary Pat thing is like, well, Mary Pat wasn't necessarily... Well, she had some criminal activities of her own, sure, but it wasn't, as bad. Oh, I mean, it's judging criminal activity here, it's like, in the grand scheme of things. Regardless, Beth tried to tell Lucy, like, you can't do this. Like, the fact of the matter is, once you do this, they'll kill you. But obviously, it's like, how can you kidnap Ajun? It's like, I was never going to hurt him. We would never do that. You can trust us. It's like, but how am I supposed to believe a word you say? But every time, like, and it sucks because you learn to think about it. It's like, well, we'll get to it soon enough. But it's like, that was, it's like, Beth felt so heartbroken, and I think it's that moment between her and Lucy was kind of a little reminiscent. It's kind of interesting. I didn't put this comparison together too. Her name is Lucy. She played Azrael in Lucifer's nickname by Amenadal is Lucy. So I don't know. That just kind of clicked in my head. I didn't correlate that last time, but I'm correlating it this time. I already correlated the whole, regardless, tangent and all that. But the fact is, the whole scene of, like, all right, they're like, oh no, you need to drop off somewhere, we'll drop you off somewhere. And she's like, oh, and, like, Beth was like, don't do this, Lucy. And Lucy kind of gets in, and she was like, yeah, as long as you don't talk, we'll be fine. You're not going to say anything, right? And Lucy was like, yeah, I'm not. I even love her introducing her Gmail. She was like, yeah, I kind of messed up when I was making it, and so I'm kind of stuck with it. But nevertheless, it's kind of turns to a whole conversation of, like, okay, basically Rio making it clear that they are got to go, but Beth is like, no, you need us because of this, and this, kind of bringing up stuff from the printing process. Like, each one of them plays their own role, and, like, Ruby helps get some materials that would take a long time to get. Annie understands certain aspects about it, where it's kind of like, you can't let this happen or it kind of ruins the process. So it's like, you need all three of us so you can't kill us. And then Rio was like, no, I don't. I was like, the moment he was like, I figured he begrudgingly accepted, but he said no. I was like, where the hell was this about to go? He's like, no, I don't need all of them. I was like, oh, don't tell me, pop. I was like, Lucy, no. I was like, no. I'm glad this is NBC, because if this wasn't NBC, if this was on some other network, they probably would have shown you that. And seeing that happen to Charlene Yee, just because, like, I think she's an adorable human being, that would have just bothered me a little bit. I was like, no. But I was like, that sucks. And, like, because that's the first, I could be remembering wrong. That's the first time anyone has died in front of them. I mean, technically it's not. Well, Beth kind of pseudo killed Rio, but it's like it's still of a different situation. Like, this is the first time they've seen someone straight up die, especially because this was, once again, that's what I'm bringing up. Like, Beth brought Lucy into this, so she feels guilty of, like, I mean, all of them feel guilty of, like, using her, and because they brought her into this, she's dead now. She died so they could live, you know, just to, you know, also to make a point of, like, all right, but it also still reminds them, once he finds a way to no longer need us, he will not hesitate to pop us. You know, there ain't no saving us, you know, and they had to leave. And like that made everyone kind of, you know, with their respective family situations, kind of, you know, especially with Ruby, it's like, you know, with everything that went down, it's like, you know, hold me, Stan, like, don't leave. You know, I need you, you know, you're my rock. And then, you know, Annie holding on to Ben and everything. It's just like, it's just one of those instances that are just like, you know, are you still mad at me? You're still mad at me? That's fine. Just not for tonight. You know, it's just. And then, like, Beth having Arjun, not telling Dean where Arjun came from, but it's like, oh, how was he mad? It's like, yeah, but see what I tell you, like, you can't kill what you love. And she was like, yeah, but it's not me. He's like, then what is it? And she's like, money. I think he has an affinity for Beth. She is kind of his blind spot, but still, I don't know. I don't think he'd kill Beth. The sad thing is, I wouldn't be surprised. He would. I don't think he'd hesitate as much to kill Annie or Ruby to prove a point. But he knows that if he does that, because he needs Beth, because I think he does like Beth, but he also knows Beth will cut ties completely with him, not do anything for him if Annie or Ruby ended up dead. But I think it's still just that thing of like, it's a calculated assessment of like, I got to prove dominance. You kind of got me twisted the time we spent together and stuff like that. This is my thing. You thought you could take me out. You made a mistake. You should have went for the kill. Once again, this is all Turner's damn it fault, and he's not alive to suffer the ramifications for it. They are. I mean, to be fair, he did suffer the ramifications for it. Him being dead right now, but you get what I'm trying to say. So that's a whole complicated thing. So. And then, like, later on, Lucy's boyfriend shows up. It's like, oh, have you seen Lucy? It's like, yeah. It's like, oh, maybe she's hanging out with some friends. Nah, she didn't have any friends. Except for you. And you see in that moment, Beth's heart broke because it's like, I was like her only friend and I got her killed. And she's hiding Lucy's purse because it's like, she can't have any, like, oh, can't have you putting out some missing persons report for Lucy because that draw too much attention to what you're up to in Rio. And the moment Rio sniffs, like, oh, cops. Clean house, you know, to kind of bail. So it's like, it's a super complicated relationship. I was assuming like the reason why she was going to keep the purse at first, I was like, oh, like before realizing like, oh crap, we can't have any ties to the fact that she was here last night and everything. I was thinking initially it was like, oh, maybe she still has some stuff in there, but it's like, no, they don't need, well, because I think they can just copy the work that because she did it on the flash drive. So all they have to do is just copy it from that and use that as part of the printing process. So that's why she wasn't needed anymore. Plus it also, well, because that's more so why he killed her, because she was the most expendable, because she proved her usefulness already. She gave them everything they need in one fell swoop with the flash drive. Beth saying all that just made them remember like, oh, we might still need you, but we don't need Lucy anymore. To be fair, who's to say they weren't going to pop Lucy anyway, but like Beth and Ruby and Annie Beth in particular, in his mind, running her mouth, kind of trying to prove her worthfulness. Maybe that it was meant to be, it was to prove a point, but you know, we're not 100% in Rio's head, so you can't really determine like what was the reasoning behind it. I mean, it could have been a little column A, little column B, little column C, little column D, all of the above type of situation. So, but very sticky situation that they find themselves in, and eventually they're going to have to cover for this whole like, how you going to cover for the fact is that Lucy's gone, like her boyfriend's going to be asking questions, and it's like, oh, that's going to turn into a gnarly situation. I am very, very curious to see ultimately where all this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.